David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. I probably say that I'm excited about all of my videos, but I don't know. When a video is about Daniel Craig's James Bond, and I have the opportunity to invite the sartorial aficionados that I know as part of this discussion, yeah, no, I mean, that just clicks off all the boxes. So today, you're here to hear a major discussion. So let me introduce the people that I've invited into this crazy, wacky, chaotic world we're going to create. First of all, we've got Bobby Morelli from Match Perfectly. Bobby, welcome.
David, thank you for having me. Great to be here. Again, I'm Bobby Morelli. I run the Match Perfectly Instagram page with my wife. Focuses on kind of the Bond lifestyle moments, travel, food, fashion, things like that. And big fan of Craig, big fan of the style. So looking forward to going head deep on the Craig films today with you guys. Looking forward to it.
Bobby, I'm so excited to have you. And for those that need to be in the know, go to their Instagram, Match Perfectly. You'll see they live this naturally. They let us kind of, peek almost voyeuristically into their world, and what a world it is. And I've got to ask you a question, Bobby. Are you and Leah more Bond and Vesper, or are you more Bond and Madeline Swan?
We are more Bond and Domino.
Oh,
there we go. So
I like that.
Thunderball, my favorite of all time. I would say Domino is my favorite Bond girl of all time, and I think Leah would echo that too. So we go Bond and Domino.
You can't go wrong with that. And by the way, for today's discussion, I noticed you themed your very self, probably invisibly.
I did.
What are you wearing?
I did. I'm wearing the Sunspell Casino Royale polo, and as close as I could get to the Tom Ford Quantum of Solace Harrington, courtesy of our good friend Daniel Love over at Royale Filmwear. So again, I know you like to mix and match your Bond and things like that. So those invisible moments are a lot of fun.
Well, you look like $1 million. So
Thank
thanks
you
for being on.
Happy to be here.
All right. You know him, you hate him, you don't hate him, you love him. Kyle Barbeau, how are you, sir? Welcome to the show.
I am doing well. Thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. Absolutely. Now, you got to tell us, Kyle, remind people, what corner of the world do you own when it comes to social media?
So I run the Instagram Easy Smiles and Expensive Watches, which is my own personal James Bond journey. It skews towards food and drink, but lifestyle and fashion are a huge part of my Bond world as well.
It is. And by the way, I love it that you're a very thoughtful and pensive person. You give it a couple seconds every time I ask something, and you really think about the answer, which is good.
I can't believe this is happening again. I thought we had fixed it.
By the way, we're going to keep going because it wouldn't be Kyle without some technical issue. One day he's going to be the technical maven. That day's not today. It's not.
You know who I am? I'm Dr. Alan Grant from the Jurassic Park movies. Every computer he touches, he breaks.
I think I'm going to call you William Shatner for tonight. You tend to pause before you say something. It's all going to be good because bringing up the rear, no pun intended, is none other than John Williams from a lot of different channels, but John Williams in his own right. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. It's an absolute honor and pleasure to be here, picking up where we left off for our love with Daniel Craig. I mean, I think that's out of the open at this point. It's should come as no surprise that hashtag man crush, So, and it's exciting for me to get to talk about clothes because usually I'm talking about music or I'm talking about myself.
Well, it's interesting you say that because, I mean, you and I did a video several months ago about kind of Daniel Craig as a presence in the Bond franchise. And it was a little bit of a crush talk. And lo and behold, close to 22,000 views later, a lot of people embrace that. I mean, I think it's certainly got a lot more likes than dislikes, which is always a good sign. But today we're going to get down and really understand why do a lot of us tend to gravitate to the style that Daniel Craig and all those great costume designers have motivated us to be in. For example, Kyle, today you look like you're wearing something very familiar.
I am. I have the NPL Commando jumper on today. So I'm ready for a movie we've never seen.
As you should, as you should. We need sneak peeks. And John, you look like you're decked out.
I had to represent Quantum of Solace always. You know what I'm saying? So
Nobody has
I'm
to.
wearing the cardigan. And again, it's Daniel Love. We got to give a big shout out and tremendous amounts of love to Daniel Love, because that guy is doing the Lord's work. I mean, seriously, we are all benefiting from Daniel Love. And, where I live, in the part of the world I'm from, there's a lot of salsa being thrown around. And I don't want, if a little salsa happens to hit my sweater, as that chip's coming towards my mouth,
They call it the
do
dance
not
of
want
love.
it being on Tom Ford.
They
Daniel Love.
They call it the dance of love, right?
Yeah.
Salsa?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, salsa.
Salsa.
dancing.
Yeah. Or that too. You know what I mean? You're right there, the body heat.
Thank God for Bobby's amazing pantomime.
That's
skills.
it, David. I got you.
You know what I mean?
By the way, I'm with you guys, because this is very natural. I think any one of us, even though we kind of obviously, wanted to make sure that we weren't wearing the same dress today, quite frankly, we would wear these things like I'm wearing right now, the Tommy Bahamas top. I've got, my watch from No Time to Die. Again, like Kyle, a movie we haven't seen, but we know we're going to love. I mean, it can't be bad, right? But, I want to start off. And first of all, I want to toast you gentlemen, because you tend to inspire a lot of us for really just, keeping the chin up during this time. So cheers, everybody. Whatever you're drinking, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Absolutely.
By the way, this part of the screen is alcohol. What are you drinking, Kyle?
I have the Blackwell 007 rum.
Nice. Good choice. Yeah. Well, I've got the
David,
Johnny
I don't have
Walker
much
Black.
of it left, so it'll probably be gone soon.
Yeah, it should be gone like today. I've got the Johnny Walker Black in the glass, just because kind of goes with the whole outfit. And Bobby, you got Pellegrino?
I've got a Pellegrino. I wish I had Johnny Walker Black, Blue, otherwise, or a Blackwell, but I don't. I've got a Pellegrino at this point. So at the office, being responsible.
Smart.
That's right. That's
And
right.
John, you've got coffee very black.
Yes, I have some coffee. I have some water. Depending upon how this goes, I have not had a drink in this year. And I'm at the office, but my office drinks heavily. So if there's a break, perhaps I'm going to break bad.
We
Have a
need
little
to do that,
cocktail with
because
you guys.
I'm going to tell you something right now. I invited these gentlemen on, and they thought this was going to be a fun little happy hour frivolity. It's going to get dark. It's going to get introspective. There will be some psychiatry involved.
Good.
This is not going to be an easy one.
Yeah, there's some things I've been thinking on this very topic that have inspired me. The relevance of
You've
Daniel
picked the
Craig.
wrong month to stop drinking and sniffing glue.
I know. I almost made. How many days has it been? It's been a long time, folks.
It's
Too
been
long.
Yeah,
Right.
I know. Bobby will
Gentlemen?
attest.
Yeah.
I am actually going to kick this discussion off with a quote that we have from Siderat, the designer from No Time to Die. So when asked, how has Bond's style evolved since Daniel Craig has been in the role? Siderat was asked that question, and this is how she answered. Quote, with Bond, there's an added layer of respecting the Bondness of Bond. Daniel plays what I think is a more emotionally rich, more pensive Bond than previous Bonds. It would be easy to follow a rule of style over substance when it comes to such an iconically stylish franchise character. But with Danielle,
Oh man,
there'll be more of that. With Daniel's Bond, there has to be a significant dose of substance along with inarguable style. And I wanted his clothes to reflect that. There's a lot to unpack there. John, what do you think of that quote from Siderat herself?
I think that it's very deep. I immediately started thinking about what he was wearing in Casino and how everything was quite tailored and of its time. I mean, this could ruffle a few feathers, but what the hell? I think Casino, and I mean this with tremendous amounts of love, is starting to look a little dated.
F you, buddy.
There's a little bit of the fashion the baggy kind of cargo pants, I don't know. Some of the it's just a little of its time, whereas with
Fair.
Quantum, once Tom Ford came on board, it was much more modern and, became more and more tailored. Tailored is not a word that I would use to describe what I'm seeing thus far in No Time to Die. Not that I'm
Interesting.
against it, but yeah.
I agree with you, John. I'll agree on two fronts. I think the things that are looking dated, and maybe we'll touch on Casino shortly, but the things that look dated to me are those almost bell-bottom pants he's wearing in the Bahamas, with the Sunspell polo. You get that shot, the pant legs, those rival Roger any day of the week, very bell-bottom. And I think that quote is interesting, David, that the style over, or substance over style, I don't know, I see that duster coat, to me, that is pure style. Not that that's not substantive, but I mean, there are more practical jackets you could choose to wear. So I agree with her on the bondness, and dressing Bond, you have to have a level of bondness, but I don't know how accurate that is in choosing something that's more practical rather than stylish.
So Kyle, I want to get your opinion on the quote, and then I'm going to give mine, because I think I have an interesting interpretation of that quote, only because I've been able to live with it for a couple days. So Kyle, talk to me about your reaction to that quote.
Well, I think what we have to take into consideration is how long Daniel Craig has been in the role. I mean, he's been in James Bond since mid-2005. So of course there's going to be an evolution of different fashion. But I think what Daniel Craig has done, and he's done a fairly good job of this, is keep things very, very classic. And that's where James Bond belongs, is to be classic. And if there's a fashionable piece like the duster coat, I mean, we haven't seen how it's used yet. So I'm reserving judgment on some of those more fashionable pieces until I see them.
It's a good call to reserve. I mean, this is all about speculation, of course. We don't know anything about the movie, but I will say this, the way I interpreted what she's saying, if I kind of break it apart, is the substance, and Bobby, I like your interpretation too. The substance aspect is a costume designer's alignment to the story. And in other words, when she chose that Matera linen jacket, it wasn't about Bond looking tailored. It was about Bond being relaxed and in the Italian moment and kind of flowing. The Jamaica clothing with the little holes in it and the t-shirt that's kind of midriff almost is more about retirement and not being tailored anymore. So I think what she's saying is that she chose styles and clothing that fit story over, I need for Bond to look like a badass, Savile Row, tailored, cool guy. Because we've had that. Quantum of Solace, he looks cool. I mean, he literally takes a jacket out of a closet in Quantum of Solace, and it looks effing amazing. I think we all own it. He takes it off of a rack, and he looks amazing. She's saying in this movie, and I'm going to go out on a limb, I think the trench coat is not his. I think he wears it, but I think he picks it up either off somebody or from somewhere, almost as if, the Quantum of Solace type of just grab and put something on. It's my theory because it's so unlike him. Just like the Matera linen jacket is not the typical Bond. She doesn't want you to look at him in that scene and go, there's James Bond.
Yeah.
They're like, no, that's Bond who's retired now. What do you think about that?
Can I offer an opinion?
Please.
So do you think it's more important, this is more of a question than an opinion, do you think it's more important for a costume designer to dress James Bond for his surroundings and for what he's doing, or to dress him for the character, to dress him because we know he's James Bond, we expect James Bond to look a certain way?
I think Daniel has taken that in a totally different direction. I think probably pre-Daniel Craig, I think it's a great question, Kyle. I think it was more about dressing James Bond to look how we as the audience expect James Bond. And I think no Bond previous to Daniel, and maybe no Bond going forward, will have as much influence as Daniel's personal style has had an impact on the character of James Bond. So I think a lot of it is situational to what he is wearing, be that at the beach, be that in the ice and snow, be that where in a crater base. I think Daniel Craig has put his personal stamp on the James Bond character. And sometimes it's tough to tell like the blurred lines of where it's Daniel Craig style versus James Bond style. And to me, I think that's what attracts me to his style, because these are things that you can wear as James Bond, but these are things you can wear in your personal life too.
Well, the emotionally rich part of this, when she says it twice, pensive, emotionally rich, to me, Kyle, that also translates to, I'm going to do a little bit of both. I'm going to put you into the story and dress him to fit the story. But when he's dressed like James Bond, it's almost like a crescendo in a movie. I don't know if you guys watched The Mandalorian. It's almost like when Luke Skywalker, spoiler alert, oh, too late.
Heavens,
Luke Skywalker shows up. That's a big moment. When you see Bond in No Time to Die, I think when you see him dressed like Bond for the very first time, it's going to be like a rush up your spine, because you're going to be like, that's my Daniel Craig James Bond. I am geeking out. And so I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to show him here, he's not James Bond when they start the movie, and then he becomes James Bond, and it's more meaningful because of that. What do you think, John?
I think that you're absolutely right. That's a great point. When he shows up in the gray suit, gets out of the V8, he's our boy again. Her thinking on her quote and listening to you guys talk and sort of coming back around to what Bobby was saying, the white, off-white Henley that he wears in this film is something that Craig has worn personally years and years ago. And how I found out about that is a little stalky.
What do you mean?
Do tell.
Just, I don't know, knowing someone who works for Rag and Bone and having access to what people who shop there have bought. And I got it years ago. And, so to see him in it, predominantly in that, is that Craig, is that Bond, is that the stylist for the film? I mean, where does that, how does that sit with me? I don't know. I mean, I know I love it, but is it Bondian, or is that Craig, or is the stylist, how much consideration does she need to take? I mean, she's there to do her job. Daniel's there to do his as an actor. And, those lines all get blurred. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But to everyone's point, seeing it in the context of the film before passing judgment is the way to go. But had you told me Bond was going to be walking around in a duster, I wouldn't have believed it. Or all this cord, or a tie with button. Anyway,
I want to get Bobby. I want to get your reaction on something you said earlier, because I think there's a lot of truth to it. Let's take the Henley that John just brought up. It's now become part of the Bond kit that a lot of us have gravitated to. So in that case, are there items that don't feel very Bond? Maybe they feel more Daniel Craigish, like the Rag and Bone, but because of the evolution of this community, it becomes part of the Bond kit.
100%. I don't think there's a better example than a shawl neck cardigan sweater, flat out. And I tell you what, John, you look great in that.
Well, thank you.
I have that. Really, I mean, really. Before Daniel wore that would have been a grandpa sweater. That would have been something that I don't think, Steve McQueen looked phenomenal in that. But that, that's years and years and years ago. And I think, Daniel Craig has made that item contemporary again. So when I wear a shawl neck cardigan now, I feel like Bond. Would I have worn that I know he wore one in Casino. Would I have worn that, that one of my favorite movies? John and I agree on that. Quantum of Solace, hands down. And one of the best looks is when he's visiting Mathis. Is there a more Bondian outfit than that now? I don't think so. I think that's a classic outfit. I think the Henley is appropriate. I think that's a staple piece. I think that's a classic piece. And you're saying, David, things that have transitioned and maybe become part of the Bond kit. I think the shawl neck sweater fits that to a T.
That's a good one. Kyle, I mean,
Daniel Craig effect. Daniel Craig has brought a lot of things back, like the shawl collar cardigan in Quantum of Solace. Inspector, he brought back turtlenecks and NATO straps on watches, and now those are seen as very fashionable things. That's the Daniel Craig effect, and I don't think we've seen another Bond actor have that much of an impact on like menswear at large since.
Can we talk about that? Because this is a big subject I actually wrote down as a prime subject. And this is where we get into the psychiatry of things, and especially the four of us. Influence, Daniel Craig's influence on us and his portrayal, and people thinking a part of it is that he's very relatable. Now, I'm going to start this one because I don't find him so much relatable as much as badass. Like, I love the badass Bond aspect. And if I can capture a sartorial moment and wear that on my back, all the better. So what type of influence? And we'll go around. And Kyle, let's start with you because you started this. What kind of influence? Why does Daniel Craig's portrayal have that much influence? Is it a relatable aspect or is it something else?
I think it's a bunch of things. I think people have gravitated towards his performance in the character because he's such a good actor. I think there's an air of mystery to Daniel Craig. We don't know a lot about his personal life. We don't know what he does day to day, other than we know he's a Liverpool fan. Apart from that, I don't really know much about the guy. Whereas other Bond actors, Pierce Brosnan and Roger Moore, Sean Connery, how many interviews with magazines did they do? Daniel Craig's a little mysterious. So I think that's a piece of it too. And also he wears his clothes in a really unique way, in a modern way, without being overtly fashion forward. He's both modern and classic at the same time. And not too many people can pull that off.
Nice. John, what about you?
That's a great question. For me, a lot of the things that I love about what he wears harkens back to, my fashion idols, especially as I get older. Steve McQueen, Sinatra, the Barracuda jacket, the polos, the fitted chinos, it's like these are all staple pieces. I think it's not only just about what Daniel wears, but he really wears clothes. They're meant to be worn. I'm gonna praise on Bobby because this is something that he said, I don't know, 6 months ago. It might have been longer, and we talk on a weekly basis, this thing we got going on. And he said, watches are meant to be worn. I'd gotten a new watch and I was handling it like an egg. And he said, no, watches are meant to be worn. And, that stuck with me. And Daniel, clothes are meant to be worn. And I know you've talked about that too now. If you get the piece, wear it. Gets a little ding on it, little salsa, like it's part of it.
Don't wear it around salsa though, John.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I can tell I've had a few experiences.
Is that your girlfriend's name, Salsa?
I wish. That'd be great.
Oh.
So, it's just about the way he wears the clothes too. Yeah. He really is comfortable. He wears the clothes don't wear him, and I think that's part of it. That classic masculine, as Kyle said, modern marrying the modern, is just all components of why we're here today.
Yeah. Bobby, would you agree? I mean, is it that? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was both were really well said. I think Daniel is very enigmatic. He doesn't have his own social media presence. What we know about Daniel Craig is what we see of him in a film. Oftentimes he's so standoffish with the media. It's not like he's some big presence outside of those films. So I think if you're trying to capture a little bit of that Daniel Craig vibe, dressing like him in a Bondian way is a great way to do that. And I think Daniel in his personal life, I think he does have a really great eye for classic pieces. Yeah. I live in Tampa, Florida. Do I have a need to own a Billy Reed Bond peacoat? No. Do I? Absolutely. That's something that Daniel found on his own, and items that don't even appear in a Bond film. If it's an R.M. Williams boot, perhaps. So I know the RGT jacket. I think these are things that like he found in a lot of instances, right?
Yeah.
To me, I think you try and capture a little bit of that vibe and that kind of aura of mystery. We don't get that much anymore with our celebrities and with our stars, and it's rare. I don't think Daniel Craig is attention seeking as much as most celebrities are today. I think Daniel Craig is very fine to keep us and, kind of the public at arm's length until he has to be trotted out to do a presser, and then it's different.
And I think a lot of people, I'm going to be a bit controversial for a second. I think a lot of people miss the point. Daniel Craig's not going out there banging his own drum saying he's picking out all the clothes. He keeps it very subtle. We know he's right there with the mood boards, with the giant room filled with clothes of, different sizes and different things for him to pick, along with whatever costume designer was hired. He has an incredible amount of influence, but I actually think that's a good thing. I want an actor portraying something who's so invested in the way he's portrayed and what he wears. He's not thinking to himself, oh, John Williams is going to love this. Maybe he is, I don't know.
I hope he is.
But the reality is that he is pushing the ball forward with that character. I don't think that's something that we should push away. We should embrace it, probably.
Absolutely, David. I wish, and I understand why he answered your question the way he did, kind of diffused it. But when you asked him about being in the clothes, I would love to hear his honest answer, because clearly he is, even though he made, what was it? Something about, I like what they give me for free or something.
Well, he said what, this whole thing. And then I started naming all the brands.
I love when you check it down,
boom,
like
boom,
that's,
boom.
yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't it have been great for him to look at you and, and give you an honest answer, to really talk about, his relationship to clothing. I mean,
although he did go into the suits, which was kind of cool. I mean, there were 3.5 minutes where he actually talked about his whole idea, like the old version of, Connery wearing a suit. And then his version was having sex in a suit, and that was my comment of, well, that's what I've been doing wrong all these years.
Yeah.
But he does, this, everybody knows this. He's got a real sartorial push to this.
Yeah. There's plenty of shots of him with like high-end bags in his hand, walking around New York and London and LA. So clearly he enjoys it.
He definitely enjoys it, John. And I've heard stories, that he has very discriminating taste and will reject as much as he accepts of brands wanting to be part of that, the Bond, experience, if you will, and wanting to have that place. And he'll reject things that he doesn't feel personally connected to.
Okay.
And from what I understand,
all together.
What I was going to say is that I'm also, Bobby, touching on that. I also understand he's not a tremendous fan of brands using his image associated with them without his consent. That is a big no-no from what I understand. And sadly, I think some brands have been pushed by the wayside a little bit as a result. I'm not sure, Dave, you're the man for that question. I
mean, I think that the tough and yet wonderful part about what I've seen, at least, and what I've heard is that brands, you've got the two brands. You've got the ones that are purposely put in there through contracts and the ones that have a happy, wonderful accidents. I think Eon, Danjak, MGM, et cetera, or Danjak really, have been very good about if a brand winds up in there, I think that they do have conversations with the brands if the brands are very interested. Very often the brands aren't interested in a big license. And so they're also not interested in putting it, up there that it's James Bond. I'll give you a perfect example, real example. RGT jacket, one of my favorite pieces from the movie, hands down. Some of us probably actually own it. Many of us own it. The reality is that Carl, who's the CEO, who's, just a great guy, runs the entire company. It's him and his wife. That's it. And, he told me very honestly, he said, yeah, there was an opportunity, but I'm so excited to be part of the Bond history and franchise, but I don't need to have a Bond section on my page. You guys are doing all the work for me. I can't keep that jacket in. As much as I increase every single order, that jacket is so back ordered. It'll be back ordered for the next few years. And every time there's a new Blu-ray or something comes out, that jacket will fly out of there. He's like, I don't need to do that. Now you have Crockett and Jones, who through several movies didn't have any official branding, but who worked with Eon tirelessly for close to 2 years to really come up with the James. And so they were a part of all these different movies, but it's really the James shoe that they used in conjunction with Siderat herself to create that shoe. That paid off. Same with Oliver Brown, and the list goes on. So for those that want to take that journey, they'll take that journey, they'll put in that contract, and they'll go forward. but there are very often those that, don't need to or don't want to. And then you've got the small percentage, which just confounds me, which don't want to do any of that. And they're like, yeah, whatever, James Bond. There's a couple like that. And they're just like, yeah, whatever.
God, what an opportunity missed.
Oh, I'll tell you what it is. Here's what I've heard. And I won't name
Can
the
we
brand.
name names?
Absolutely not, John. But you're always, I love that
I had to try. I had to try. Let's turn this thing in. Let's go Larry King with this bad boy right now in honor.
Larry King taken over by John Williams. We got John Williams here on the phone.
Love Larry, man.
I'm channeling Larry King.
Awesome. Shoulders out a little bit.
So here's the thing. Won't name the brand. I will tell you the brand feels like they would rather be a fashion brand and not a brand associated with the movie.
That sounds like a big brand to me.
Yeah. All right, we'll take that one off air.
Wink. So that'll be part 2. Gentlemen, we're going to have a future conversation, literally going through each of Craig's movies, talking about what we like, what we don't like, what's dated, what would we wear today, what do we own, etc. So we're not going to get into that. But for this part of the discussion, I want to ask one more question from each of you. And this is the deep one. We're going to have a deep one in every single one. Talk to me. And Kyle, you're going to go first. So prepare yourself. Talk to me about the emotional connection when you make a purchase of something or you wear something from a Daniel Craig movie. Talk to me about the emotional lift that it possibly gives you and why. And Kyle, you're going to go first.
Oh boy, I don't even know where to start because I've bought so many of the pieces from the Daniel Craig movies over the years.
Wax poetic, my friend.
I really think what it is, we admire this character so much, even though I'm not James Bond, you're not James Bond, Bobby isn't James Bond, John isn't James Bond, but we emulate him. We want to be like him. There's something about him we find appealing. And every time we put on, whether it's the NPL sweater or the Omega watch or something like, we're sort of bonding isn't the right word, but we're sort of putting ourselves in that role. And because James Bond always uses the best and always wears the best and always drives the best, we know we're using the best also, and that makes us feel more special.
That's a great answer, man. Captures a lot of it. Hey, John, what about you?
Are we talking about a specific piece or just over?
You certainly can.
Yeah. I'm a very, when it comes to I don't like the word success. If there's any fruits of my labor, makes me happy, but I don't like to boast and I don't like to showboat and I don't like attention that certain things give me. I'm not in it for that. And, when people, if I do have something that's a little, nice or bougie, it's because of Bond more than likely. I just don't feel the need to impress people I don't know. So most of the time it is about Bond. And I've been called out on it a few times when people are talking about cars or this or that. But one thing I did do is I promised myself at one point, if I achieved a certain goal, that I would buy myself a watch. And I achieved that goal and I got the Aquaterra. And I remember walking out of the mega store and they knew what that meant to me and they made such a big deal about it. And I was like, how am I going to feel about dropping $7,500 on a damn watch? Like, is that dumb? Like, am I going to regret this? And there hasn't been a day that goes by that I don't look down at that watch, and it brings me so much joy. And makes me so happy. And it has nothing to do with impressing somebody by look at my watch, it's an Omega. I'm just not in it for that. But I do, when I have it on and it just connects me to Bond, it connects me to Spectre, which I love. And, when you're watching the film and he's in Mexico and he's adjusting the sights and there's that shot of the watch, I mean, that to me is the action. I love that feeling. And jokingly, I also like anytime I take a piss looking down and seeing $7,500.
Do you wear your watch on your penis? Wait, where do you wear your watch?
There's something wonderful about looking down and taking a leak and going, there's 7,500. Let's keep going.
John's got 3 watches surrounding his Johnson, I guess.
But, that's what I'm trying to impress. So no, I mean, these things connect me to Bond, and this is why I do it, as sad as that might be, So I think it has a
Not
tremendous
But
impact.
you're right. You're not supposed to wear it for other people. You wear it for you.
Exactly.
You know, and so you know, it's all connected to Bond in some way or the other. And if it isn't, one of the things that this has done for me is, you know, maybe I won't have the exact thing that he has, but you know, it has, and you have, David, turned me on to all of these lines, you know, all these different brands. And so I go to them for other things. It doesn't, you know, I'm not the guy who has to be 100% screen accurate. You know, I didn't get the No Time to Die watch recently. I got the Speedmaster that, you know, has been to the moon. And, you know, it was because of Bond that took me to Omega that made me purchase, you know, that brand.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's always some sort of thread, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, that's
I'm going to
strong.
stop talking.
No, I love it. I mean, this is exactly it. Bobby, I know this is something very close to you.
It is. And I tell you, I agree with everything that's been said. The brands that align themselves with Bond and that Bond aligns himself with are all aspirational. Like you say, Kyle, they are all top shelf, you know, from the champagne he's consuming to the comb he's running through his hair to what he's shaving with to what he's wearing. It's all aspirational. And I think it's, you know, you put on that jacket or that polo or that turtleneck or whatever that happens to be, you like walk a little taller. It's like you feel like, yeah, this is what Bond has worn. This is what he would wear. And you know, you talk about having those invisible moments, or you talk about capturing a little bit of that magic. And I think it's unique to this franchise. Do you have a character and a film series that's been running from the 1960s until today, and you feel part of that lineage, I think, when you are participating in this lifestyle. And I think some of it is you catch someone else maybe wearing a certain watch or a certain polo or a certain, and you're great at that, David. You can, you know, you peg those brands. And sometimes it's like, you know what? And I've struck conversations up airports, restaurants, things like that. It's like, I bet that person's a Bond fan. And you like have that instant connection, and it's like that, just that little nod. And you know, it's like I said, you feel, you have like a sense of pride almost. You know, I know it's a fictional character, but I think you feel, you know, tied to something that has a real history to it. And I've been introduced, you know, I would thank you, David. They're brands that I would have never, ever investigated because of your channel, and brands I would never know about had they not been in a Bond film. And my closet's full of them. And like you, John, I've gone down the road and saying, hey, I like this piece from Billy Reed. Maybe I'll get some other pieces from Billy Reed. That's a great brand. Or maybe, you know, things that just get surfaced and you explore that. I think that's part of the fun. You know, to me, it's you find things and you know if James Bond is using it, it's going to be top shelf. I think it's fun to aspire to that.
That's a great point. And by the way, I'd love to like kind of rip and steal from all three of yours, whether it's the emulation, you know, the emotional play, or, you know, obviously the exploration and the journey, Bobby, that you're talking about. For me, it started when I first started this in my early 30s of capturing a moment and being able to escape at the same time. And what I mean by that is, you know, I think that, you know, we all have, you know, wonderful families and good jobs, and, you know, we're very lucky and all those things, but those are major doses of reality and drama and angst and stress that we deal with every day. Bond as a movie for 2.5 hours allows us escapism. And that escapism is so important. It's a release valve from all the things that could really just weigh us down. Literally, the sartorial aspect is being able to wear that. To me, it's almost like, you know, and again, this is not a political statement, but it's almost like an antidepressant, you know, that I constantly carrying on me at all times. I have a watch that I can look down and this meeting is going for shit. And the client's getting upset. Look at the brown on that, you know. And I know some people would say,
Yes.
that's a problem, David. Like, you know, you're using you're using a character to run your life. And I would say, argue and say, look, we are all parts and pieces of the people, the moments, the products, and the life experiences. That's what we are. Otherwise, you'd be a baby going goo at 53 years old. We're not that. So why not accumulate, to Bobby's point, some of the best sartorial aspects and lifestyle aspects of the guy who's been inspiring us for 62 years. Now you've got Daniel Craig, who is our today Bond, who has today fashion and style and has modernized it and is a more angsty and, as Siddharth says, emotionally rich person. And that's what we're all trying to be, is emotionally rich. That's the Bond community. So to me, I think it captures it beautifully, and you guys too. Listen, Bobby, John, Kyle, thank you so much. This was a pretty heady first discussion around Daniel Craig's fashion and style. Everybody out there who's watching this, join us for the next one where we're actually going to walk through Daniel Craig's movies. And boy, we're going to critique, we're going to fall in love again, we're going to argue, we're going to debate, we're going to lose friendships. I'm just going to tell you that right now. But in the meantime, this has been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience, and we'll see you all real soon. Take care. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.